In the 3rd year of being with Leander, he was going to have a political marriage. I lowered my gaze to my still flat belly and gathered the courage to speak. I love you. Don't choose her, choose me, please. The corners of his lips lifted in a faint smile, but there was no warmth in his eyes. Rowena, it seems I've spoiled you too much. Remember your place, and don't have unrealistic fantasies. You know what I'm capable of. I hastily wiped away my tears and took a night flight to City C. From that moment on, I had nothing more to do with him. 2 years later, my fiancé took me back to City A for our engagement ceremony. As he carefully explained his family's relationships, he mentioned his uncle, an influential man in City A, and leaned close to my ear, teasingly whispering, "Don't be fooled by how cold and ruthless my uncle looks. 2 years ago, he actually stopped a plane for love." Chapter 1. My heart tightened unconsciously. I turned my face toward Albert, intrigued. Did he manage to stop it? Of course not. Albert pinched my cheek between his long fingers, stretching out his voice playfully. He didn't. Those years, my uncle was fighting for power. Grandpa forced him into marriage with the inheritance on the line. Albert paused, then chuckled again. But my uncle isn't the kind of man who'd lose himself in love. It was just a scene. Now, who knows, maybe he's doing great with his fiancée. He had already turned away, taking off his coat, answering casually, "Then at least find someone clean. Don't bring any diseases back." I paused for a moment. "All right." Pablo's movements stopped. His gaze locked on my face. Do whatever you want. Chapter 2. It wasn't the first time I'd received a message from him. As our business partner, Benjamin never cared about the progress of the project. Instead, he sent me live photos of Pablo with another woman. "Camila, your man is cheating." I was clearly in a meeting. Across the table, Benjamin was sitting right in front of me, watching me with interest. My face went pale in front of everyone. I walked out of the meeting room. But he grabbed me. "Camila, are you panicking?" Holy fuck. I couldn't control my shame and anger. Whose husband cheats and doesn't panic? In the hallway, Benjamin leaned in, his breath pressing down. "What if I tell you they've already been together for 3 years? Still not panicking?" A buzz exploded in my head. And my first thought was, I don't believe it. These 3 years, Pablo had always been by my side. Flowers and surprises on every special day. How could it be? But Benjamin seemed to know what I was thinking, letting go of my hand. "Don't believe it. Want to make a bet with me?" Chapter 3. How could anyone treat a relationship as something to gamble on? I refused Benjamin. After I got home, I received another gift from Pablo. A rose gold Bulgari bracelet. On my wrist, I was wearing the exact same one, the style he gave me last time. Pablo was attentive. In the 5 years we'd been together, he had never given me the same gift twice. My heart sank instantly. He hugged me from behind. "Do you like it, sweetheart? I haven't seen you for a week. I missed you so much." His voice gradually slowed. His eyes fell onto the gift box. His brows furrowed. "What's going on? Did the clerk give me the wrong style?" I studied his expression carefully. Pablo frowned. There was no guilt, only the frustration of a possible mistake. "Sweetheart, maybe the clerk packed the wrong item. I'll message them tonight to exchange it." I smiled. My voice soft and gentle. "No need to trouble them. As long as it's something you personally chose for me, I'll love it." His expression froze for a second. And then, soft, dense kisses fell on me. Repeating "I'm sorry" again and again. "I'll be more careful next time." Chapter 4. Too perfect. If only Pablo's wife weren't me. Late at night, Gardenia's information lay on my desk. Pablo kept her in City H. She had just graduated. She looked pure and innocent. But my people tricked her, telling her Pablo might be in business trouble. So she hurriedly booked a flight back that very day. That day, Pablo paused a shareholders' meeting. Went to the airport to pick her up in heavy rain. Benjamin sat across from me. His smile was an eyesore. "Why don't you want to bet with me? Afraid you'll lose?" He spun the lighter between his fingers. Everyone in the circle knows Pablo dotes on his wife like she's his whole world. I didn't believe that. I was curious whether I believed it. I closed my eyes. Let the smell of kerosene seep into my nose. The bet. Let's bet on that piece of land in the east of the city. I snapped my eyes open, staring at him in shock. Benjamin lit a cigarette. What, Camila? In the end, I said, okay. Chapter 5. That night, I opened Pablo's laptop. The password was still my birthday. His WeChat was logged in on the computer. Outside, rain poured in sheets. Lightning flashed, thunder rolled. I didn't know how much time passed before Pablo opened the door. His gaze landed on the laptop on the coffee table. The screen was frozen on his chat with Gardenia. She had sent him a picture of the new Bulgari bracelet. Pablo, I took the wrong one. The bracelet I took is this one. But this one looks good on me too. So, can I just keep it? The color drained from Pablo's lips. So it was you who told her my business was in trouble, right? I looked at him silently. Pablo closed his eyes. Don't use tactics on her, Camila. Chapter 6. Pablo knew very well. Lying was useless in this kind of situation. So he told me everything without hiding a single detail. He and Gardenia had been an accident. 3 years ago, after a business dinner, he drank too much. He thought it was me coming to the hotel to pick him up. And somehow, he acted on that emotion. After they were done and he sobered up, he saw Gardenia crying her eyes out, saying she had to call the police. At that moment, Pablo's first reaction was that I must never find out. He gave Gardenia a lot of money. But she refused. She ran. He followed her, and saw her living conditions on her university campus. Pablo paused. Then continued, she was living a hard life. He started helping her financially in other ways. She was very grateful. But she also worked hard herself. Over time, he developed feelings for her. And eventually, Gardenia was moved by his sincerity. And then, things spiraled completely out of control. Pablo held his temples in pain. I've checked everything. That night at the hotel, she was delivering water to another room. She didn't plan anything. Don't blame her. She really didn't mean for it to happen. I sat across from him on the sofa, looking at him. But inside my sleeves, my fingers were trembling uncontrollably. 3 years ago. I had been with Pablo during every single one of his business dinners. Except that one, I had an ectopic pregnancy. The day I had the surgery, Pablo held me in agony. Sweetheart. I'm so sorry. Chapter 7. Pablo promised. He would cut things off with her. He would return to the family and spend the rest of his life making it up to me. That day, I stayed silent. But I smoked one cigarette after another. Pablo loved me. That was why most of his assets and life were practically in my hands. And that was why I dared to accept Benjamin's bet. But I asked myself, this tainted Pablo. Even if he came back to the family, could I still accept him? That night, I kicked Pablo out. And sank into confusion alone. Chapter 8. After that, Pablo seemed to really cut off contact with Gardenia. He reported his whereabouts to me constantly, no matter where he was. Until Gardenia became pregnant. The pregnancy report was placed on my desk by Benjamin. Gardenia's name. On the last line, it clearly stated, intrauterine early pregnancy. Ultrasound gestational age, 5 weeks 4 days. Warm air from the office heater blew over me, but my fingertips grew colder and colder, curling up in shameful discomfort. 5 weeks and 4 days. That was the very night Pablo promised to end things with her. The night I kicked him out. I closed my eyes. My heart tightening. The internal line rang. The receptionist sounded urgent. Boss, there's a woman downstairs named Gardenia insisting on seeing you. Chapter 9. When she entered, her eyes went straight to the pregnancy report on my desk. She smiled, distant. Camila, you don't need to watch me this closely. I lit a cigarette. She frowned and stepped back. I'm pregnant, Camila. I hope you can respect that. Respect? I pressed the cigarette against the ashtray and looked up at her. University major in destroying other people's families? Her face flushed from my words. But soon, she straightened her back. At the beginning, I didn't want any of this. The implication was clear, Pablo had chased her relentlessly. So, if you didn't want it, why didn't you call the police? Gardenia seemed stunned. If I had called the police, your husband might be in prison right now. So instead of calling the police, you turned him into your Pablo. And now you're not satisfied, coming here with this piece of rotten meat to force my hand. Her expression changed instantly. She clutched her belly, raising her voice. The child is innocent, Mrs. Liao. Whatever you adults are dealing with, don't curse my baby. I laughed. Playing the saint after acting like a whore. Just say it. What's your reason for coming today? Gardenia's expression shifted several times. Until I finally lost patience. Pablo said, you can't have children anymore. Chapter 10. Even though I was mentally prepared, I still felt dizzy and ringing in my ears because of Gardenia's words. My fingers clenched the edge of the desk, barely holding myself together. She slowly walked toward me. Camila, I never intended to interfere with your life. But you insisted on tricking me back to City A. But since you've set your eyes on me, we might as well be honest. You being unable to have children is your own problem, but you shouldn't let Pablo have no heirs. Smack. The crisp sound cut her voice in half. My palm trembled. Get out. She stubbornly stayed where she was. Of course. A few seconds later, the office door was suddenly pushed open. Pablo rushed in. Instinctively searching for her. When he saw the mark on her face, his expression changed. He yanked her behind him, his voice trembling. Camila, are you crazy? Do you know that she? Pablo stopped himself just in time. I finished his sentence for him. Do I know that she's pregnant? His face went pale. He turned to Gardenia. She bit her lip and silently gestured toward my desk. The pregnancy report was lying right there. Silence filled the room. Pablo's anger rose. You investigated her, Camila. Why would you do that? I already promised you I would cut things off with her. We haven't been in contact at all. Chapter 11. Outside, some employee must have closed the door Pablo forgot to shut. The corners of Pablo's eyes were red. This child is a gift from heaven. No matter how angry you are, the child is the bottom line. He shielded Gardenia, and in front of everyone, he left my office. In the most humiliating way possible. He placed Gardenia in an apartment complex in the same neighborhood as ours. Pablo told me he wouldn't divorce me. I know you're hurt. When the baby is born, I'll hand the child to you. We'll tell everyone the child is yours. From then on, the three of us. I'll make it up to you. I threw a glass. It shattered on his instep. You're not afraid I might strangle that child? He stared at me. In his eyes, I couldn't tell if it was affection or pity. You won't. Camila, you won't. He was certain I was only harsh with my words but soft-hearted inside. Just like he was certain I would never cross the line. Chapter 12. We completely separated our living spaces. But he never stopped expressing his sincerity about returning to the family. Every morning, he prepared the milk I liked. At night, across the wall between us, he sent me messages. Camila, I know how much you care about cleanliness. I've washed myself so many times. I won't touch her again. Before you forgive me, I'll keep myself clean. Camila, I love you. Pablo had studied me thoroughly. He knew deeply how much I minded him being unclean. And of course, he also minded the same when it came to others. So he chased away the male models I had brought in batch after batch. So even when I didn't come home at night, Pablo wasn't worried. On the third day, the last group of male models left. And I saw Benjamin standing at my door. He walked in and closed the door behind him. For a scumbag, you've really torn yourself apart. It's not very dignified. I set down my glass. Trying my best to remain calm. A bet is a bet. The land in the east of the city is yours. His smile relaxed. Then I'll gladly accept. Music played softly. Benjamin poured himself a drink. Camila, pull yourself together. Like this, It makes me feel like winning wasn't fair. Our glasses clinked. A strange competitiveness rose inside me. I grabbed his tie. Want to win with a bit more dignity? I heard my own voice. You are clean, aren't you? Hashtag chapter 13. The whole night, clarity and sinking blended together. All I remembered was Benjamin's upturned face and his strained voice. I was awakened by a phone call. I fumbled for it and accidentally hit the speaker button. Camila, Pablo's voice came through. You're not at the company. I went to deliver milk for you, but the receptionist said you won't let anyone up. From the other end of the phone, a woman's soft voice faintly sounded. Did she answer, Pablo? I hadn't fully woken from the haze. An arm slid under my neck. Scumbags wake up this early. On the other side of the line, silence dropped like a stone. Then Pablo's voice suddenly rose. Who are you? Why is Camila's phone in your hands? His voice was so loud, it finally brought some clarity to me. I glanced at Benjamin and turned off the speaker. Who he is has nothing to do with you. Camila, you're married, do you even realize? I moved the phone away and powered it off. I picked up my clothes and looked toward the bed. I'm going to the company. You better not go. Pablo will come looking. The man raised an eyebrow. As the homewrecker, I'm actually kind of curious to witness Pablo catching us in bed. Spend your time training your body instead, I said. What I didn't say was, being clean isn't enough, skill matters too. Benjamin's expression froze. I'm not inexperienced. He sounded a little aggrieved. Camila, you really have no conscience. Life was already a mess of broken pieces. Who has the luxury of conscience? When I arrived at the company, the receptionist was already blocking the frantic Pablo. He saw I arrived alone. His expression eased slightly. But when he approached, he finally saw the red marks on my neck. Pablo's expression darkened. He finally realized that when I said I would cheat, it had never been a threat. He suddenly went crazy. Eyes red, rushing toward me. Camila, what did you do? You really slept with someone, didn't you? Who allowed you to go to someone else? In the lobby, several receptionists were secretly watching. I smiled at Pablo. Didn't you agree first? But don't worry. The person I chose was absolutely clean. Pablo lost it, muttering something as he ran off. I finally caught the last line. I don't believe it. Impossible. At this point, whether he believed me or not was no longer something I needed to consider. Hashtag chapter 14. As I walked into the office, my phone rang. The lawyer contacted me. The marital asset inventory was done. Yes. All this time, I had been preparing the marital property assessment. We had purchased many funds and properties during marriage, including equity linked to 2 companies. Some assets couldn't be measured by market value, they had to be notarized and estimated. I drafted the divorce agreement, sent a courier to deliver it to him. The return message was that Pablo wasn't home. He refused to answer the courier's repeated calls. I had no choice but to send him a message. If you don't accept the agreement, are you planning to drag this into court? His side kept showing typing. After a very, very long time, he finally replied, his voice weary even through text. Camila, but you cheated too. There's no need to make this so ugly. I replied with a smiling emoji. I didn't, actually. Imagining the way he must be breaking down behind his screen, I made an appointment for gua sha. Following the red marks on my neck, I scraped them down little by little, across my whole body. So what if I cheated? I did give him cheating back. But all he could do was suffer, with no solid proof to hold against me. Hashtag chapter 15. I moved back into the apartment I lived in before marriage. A few days later, a figure appeared outside my door. Autumn frost had settled in a thin layer, soaking his shoulders. Pablo's voice was hoarse. I'm willing to send Gardenia back to City H. Even though I had anticipated Pablo might find me here, I never expected that the first thing he would say was that he'd send away the mother of his child. Pablo added, I'll send Gardenia back. When the baby is born, I'll let my parents take care of it. I won't see them again, okay? I laughed out loud. You came all the way here to tell me jokes? There was a pleading look in his eyes. For the family, leave them one child. In the future, I'll devote myself entirely to you, Camila. Since you also. Can't we just call it even? I leaned against the doorframe. Who told you I cheated? His eyes reddened. I saw it with my own eyes. What did you see? The man I supposedly slept with. Did you see him? His gaze shifted past me into the apartment. I stepped aside openly. But on the doormat, there were only my high heels. No trace of any man entering the place. His pupils trembled slightly, suspicion twisting his expression. But the answer he wanted, I didn't give. Instead, I told him, if you wanted a child, you could have told me earlier. He stood there, awkward and hesitant. At first I felt, just staying with you was enough. But now that I have. And seeing my parents worry so much about the child, I can't bear it. I let out a cold laugh. Do your parents know that at their age, they're still being used as your excuse? Pablo stiffened. I grabbed his collar. If they're so worried about you having no heir, why don't they give you a little brother? His expression changed instantly. I released him. Get out. You have 3 days. If you don't sign the papers, I'll let the entire internet enjoy the evidence of your cheating. I slammed the door. Benjamin walked out from the balcony. I smiled. Benjamin, thank you for the trouble. Chapter 16. Pablo still sent Gardenia away. Under the banner of returning to the family. Probably using the experience he gained from dealing with Gardenia, he began throwing money at me. Transfers, deposits, the latest luxury collections. I accepted them one by one. Benjamin looked surprised. I thought you'd refuse, considering he's tainted, right? I finished for him. Then smiled. But money isn't tainted. Marital property is subject to division. But personal gifts are not counted as divisible assets. Unless Pablo is willing to lose face and fight over them. I sent the divorce agreement again. Pablo finally realized that money and gifts were useless. So, he brought in his mother. My ex-mother-in-law spoke earnestly. What Pablo did this time was outrageous, but he also spared you the hardship of childbirth. Camila, he promised me he'll never do it again. Let this go. You've been together so many years. Ever since I married Pablo, she had always been kind to me. Now that Pablo sent his mother, it was clearly his final card. I lowered my eyes and changed the way I addressed her. Auntie, I'm going on a business trip. There's no need to waste time on this. Her hand clenched in embarrassment before she forced a smile. Camila, where are you going? I'll accompany you. A trip might help you relax. So, my ex-mother-in-law, abroad with me, saw Gardenia at a maternity and baby store. She walked out holding her phone up for a video call. Her face full of joy as she said, "Hubby, baby and I both miss you so much." Then she looked up. And the smile froze on her face the next second. From her phone, Pablo's voice came out. In a few days, once Camila stabilizes, I'll come see you. What's wrong, sweetheart? Why aren't you talking? I approached with my bag in hand. Your baby and sweetheart just happened to run into your mother and your ex-wife. Gardenia's face went pale. She held her belly and backed away. Camila, sister, why are you here? Her phone slipped into the shopping cart. From the phone, Pablo was shouting, Camila, Camila. Don't touch her, Camila, she's pregnant. Aren't you the one who wants a divorce? I agree. Chapter 17. In a foreign country, I inspected the love nest Pablo had set up for Gardenia. How much per month? $5,000. Gardenia looked slightly embarrassed. 8,000. Oh. I nodded, silently calculating how much Pablo had spent sustaining this affair. All of it would be recovered later. My ex-mother-in-law looked uneasy. Camila. Mom will make up this money for you. 13 hours. Gardenia fell asleep once, holding her belly. Pablo finally showed up, late. He rushed in, eyes immediately sweeping through the room. When he didn't see Gardenia, he grabbed my shoulders. You already have everything. You have me, you have my love. Camila, why can't you let her go? Gardenia only has my child left. My ex-mother-in-law quickly clutched his wrist. Pablo, calm down, she's in the bedroom. Gardenia walked out sleepily. Her voice brightened with surprise, hubby, you're back. Then remembering the situation, she quickly shut her mouth. Pablo released me. His gaze flustered. I was just a little anxious. From my bag, I pulled things out one by one. Gardenia's pregnancy report, the newly obtained paternity test, and the recorder that was still uploading the audio. Pablo, looks like we'll need to revise the divorce agreement. A 50% split won't be enough anymore. Chapter 18. Yes. This was also why I had waited until now. Abroad, unlike in our country, as long as you have money, you can obtain Ms. Gardenia's venous blood. Now I had complete evidence of Pablo's marital infidelity. Even if I couldn't force him to leave with nothing, a heavy compensation claim was more than feasible. The recorder played back his shouting. You already have everything. You have me, and you have my love. Camila, why can't you just leave her alone? Gardenia is carrying my child. I smiled and tapped upload. If you like it, President Pablo, keep the recorder as a souvenir. Pablo's face slowly drained of color. You calculated me again and again. I stood up, meeting his eyes directly. Because this is the only valuable thing left in you. 90% of the assets. Any objection? Pablo laughed bitterly. He picked up the agreement and signed his name with a few strokes. Camila, are you sure you won't regret this? Of course I'll regret it. I stared at him. I regret not seeing your true nature earlier, and marrying trash like you. Before leaving, I looked at his mother. Auntie. I thought, this would be the last time I called her that. When Pablo rushed in earlier, he had already made his choice. His mother's eyes reddened. She shook her head at me. I turned and walked out. The sound of my heels echoed through this foreign country. I had already lost a piece of land. But Pablo would not get a second chance to gamble with me again. Chapter 19. When I returned to the country, it was Benjamin's people who came to pick me up at the airport. They were holding flowers, and ended up face to face with Pablo. The atmosphere among the group instantly turned strange. Gardenia bit her lip, standing behind Pablo. No wonder Camila insists on divorcing you. A passive-aggressive remark, painting my relationship with the person picking me up as something ambiguous. Pablo looked at me. His eyes clearly said one word, explain. I pretended not to see it. I accepted the flowers. This is Benjamin's surprise. The secretary smiled professionally. The president said, congratulations to Miss Camila for staying away from scumbags. Pablo's brows tightened sharply. His instincts told him something was wrong. He suddenly remembered the red marks on my neck that day. He rushed over and grabbed my hand. Camila. There was fire in his gaze. We're not divorced yet. The young secretary reacted quickly. Before I even moved, he pinched Pablo's wrist. Pablo winced and let go. The young man shielded me behind him, making his stance very clear. He looked pretty handsome doing it. I was amused, my irritation faded a little. Pablo was furious. We're not divorced yet, Camila. You're a woman, don't you know how to keep your distance from men? The young man lifted his chin. Our boss said you two will be divorced very soon. Chapter 20. Pablo stopped pretending. He settled in City A with Gardenia. Attended every business dinner and social event with her. Unfortunately, Gardenia was not a businesswoman. In fact, she wasn't even emotionally intelligent. On the contrary, she possessed the stubborn pride Pablo admired most. I didn't need to investigate. Word spread quickly that Gardenia had lost her temper at a dinner table, causing Pablo to lose a major deal. About 20 million in profit. People in the circle told me these stories as jokes. But my attention wasn't on that. The bidding for the land in the east of the city had begun. They called it a bidding, but in reality, only Benjamin's company and mine had the strength to take it. According to the bet, I was supposed to lose. Benjamin already knew the profit margin I had offered. I never expected that when the results were announced, my company would win by 0.01%. My stunned expression didn't have time to fade. Benjamin smiled. The bet was between business partners. But my woman can't be used for games. Congratulations, Camila. Greasy. Maybe. But not disgusting. That one sentence meant an immeasurable amount of money was about to land in my hands. I winked at him. Very generous of you, President. Suddenly someone beside me shouted, "It's you." Everyone turned their eyes toward us. A man rushed in like a madman and grabbed Benjamin by the collar. Pablo shouted, "Was it you? Huh? I remember your voice. Was it you? Was it you who slept with Camila? Was it? Answer me." I shoved Pablo hard. Are you fucking crazy? He was already the joke of the entire circle. And now he wanted to drag me down with him. Pablo's eyes were red. The cooling off period isn't over, Camila. Come home with me. We won't divorce. We'll pretend none of this ever happened. I can let it all go. There were too many people watching. My fists clenched, anger rising like a flame up my spine. Benjamin's polished shoe brushed the tip of my heel. He lowered his voice, still smiling. There are quite a lot of media here today. That one sentence snapped me back to calm. I stared at Pablo for a long time. Then smiled and leaned close to his ear. Word by word, then go ahead, let it go. Chapter 21. People like him and people like me are, of course, different. As long as my needs are satisfied, adding a little spite to disgust him is enough. There's no need to leave behind anything that could be used against me. Once divorce was officially on the table, I never slept with anyone again. Even if Pablo investigates, he'll find nothing. Clearly, Pablo understands this too. So he could only stare at me in disbelief, his expression shattering. Don't break now. I smiled and encouraged him. Don't panic. Life goes on. After all, you're about to be a dad. Half his assets gone, 10 million lost, and a child to raise soon. Benjamin walked over, dead serious. Oh, then let me wish you, killing two birds with one stone. Pablo's face grew uglier. He clenched his teeth for a long time before finally looking at me. When did you become so mean, Camila? I'd always been this mean. I just put away my claws when I loved Pablo. 30 days passed. Pablo and I showed up at the Civil Affairs Bureau on time. He pressed his lips together. He didn't look anything like those broken, exhausted male leads in Win Her Back After Cheating novels. Instead, he stared at me with a complicated expression. Camila, you can still regret this. It's not too late. I glanced at the woman sitting in his car. Let out a soft laugh. And what about your baby's mother? He hesitated for a moment. The baby's mother could become you. Gardenia never wanted to compete with you. He gave a bitter smile. You're biased against her, that's why you guard against her. She's really very pure. Even if she can't marry me, she's willing to stay in City H. 30 years old, yet he still believed women could be this pure. For the first time, I began to doubt my past self. Was my taste this bad 5 years ago? I stopped his delusional talk. Pablo, hurry up. The steel seal stamped onto the divorce certificate. Pablo froze. Before I left, he called out to me again. Don't worry. I won't marry again. Meaning, he'd wait for me to change my mind. I couldn't help it. You look like a fucking idiot. I walked quickly toward the parking lot. Pablo shouted something behind me. The wind shredded it, I couldn't hear, and didn't care enough to try. Beside my car sat a black Aston Martin. The window lowered. Benjamin's smiling face appeared. To celebrate your regained freedom, care to join me for dinner? I paused, then handed him the contract I had prepared. Benjamin flipped through it, his expression slowly darkening. What does this mean? Inside was 20% equity of the East City project transferred to Benjamin. Which meant he earned a hefty sum without doing anything. I lifted a strand of hair behind my ear. I just suddenly felt that your young secretary is pretty nice. Maybe consider the pain of letting him go. Benjamin's face soured. Camila. I smiled lightly. If not, forget it. It wasn't that I was trying to disgust anyone. I'd simply realized something: young men tend to have strong attractive waist-to-hip ratios. As for Benjamin and me, maybe he did develop a bit of feeling after sleeping together. But from the beginning, it was all calculation. Calculating Pablo. Calculating my marriage. I knew all of this. Between adults, stopping at the right point is enough. He used a piece of land to watch a show. I used the knife he handed me to cut through the mess cleanly. We're even. Chapter 22. Without anything tying me down anymore, I poured my whole heart into the project. Occasionally, I would hear news about Pablo from others. They weren't doing well. Pablo hadn't kept much of the assets. Gardenia's pregnancy reactions were severe, and the expenses were huge. Most importantly, that carefully maintained gentleness she once had became impossible to sustain under the weight of daily necessities and financial pressure. She was a self-reliant climbing flower. She was a pure mother. So she wanted a rightful title to stand openly beside Pablo with their child. But Pablo refused. He was busy patching up his business messes, and asked Gardenia to wait until he stabilized everything, then they would talk. Gardenia didn't cry or make a scene. She simply posted cryptic sentences on social media. So deep affection turns out to be nothing but illusion. Only by enduring loneliness can one see their true heart. Her pictures were always a corner of a window, or a book, a cup of tea. What used to be purity now only made Pablo irritated. But wasn't it this stubborn purity that he claimed to love in the first place? I saw Pablo again at an industry summit. He had clearly lost a lot of weight, dark circles under his eyes. Camila, his voice was dry. I stopped walking. Your child's born? A flicker of unease crossed his face. Soon. Congratulations. My calmness made him uncomfortable. Before I could leave, he grabbed my arm. As if possessed, he suddenly asked, "Can you tell me the truth? You and Benjamin." My gaze shifted to Benjamin standing not far away. I smiled faintly. You want to know? I'm not telling you. Chapter 23. When leaving the venue, Pablo kept following behind me. I turned back to look at him. Camila, he asked, as long as I see you're doing well, that's enough. I'm doing fine. My voice was calm. At least I don't have to worry about someone giving me the wrong bracelet, or raising someone else's child. He stood a meter away, smiling bitterly. You don't need to hate me like this. Of course I didn't. Because I didn't have time to. You misunderstood, I said as I opened the car door. I'm just too tired to pretend with you. When I returned to the hotel, the young secretary was already waiting in the suite. Tall, straight posture. Clear, bright eyes. Benjamin's former secretary. Gia, you must be tired. He naturally took my handbag. Then crouched down, skilled hands massaging my calves and ankles. The pressure, neither light nor heavy, was perfect. Warmth spread through my skin, alive and powerful. I closed my eyes. A 24-year-old young man. Never been in a relationship. Clean. Strong. Unfortunately, his bloom only had a year left. A friend once said with envy, with your money and your looks and no husband, I'm jealous. If only you had an heir. I smiled, not answering. Gardenia, at least, had given birth to a son. When the news spread through the circle, I was in the South American rainforest. The phone signal flickered. Occasionally I could see a few photos others posted. In the pictures, Pablo held the baby, but had none of the joy of a new father. He looked utterly exhausted. Someone commented below, I heard Pablo's mom refuses to acknowledge the child. His business is collapsing too, lost a ton on the last project. Barely recovered. And that woman keeps demanding a title. I turned off my phone. The secretary's strong arm circled my waist as we kept moving forward. The guide pointed at a huge broad-leafed plant ahead. He said it had incredible vitality, able to root even in the poorest soil. Yes. Some things, once rotten into the mud, become nourishment instead. Chapter 24. Later, I heard, Gardenia took the child and left City A with the money Pablo gave her. Before leaving, she sent Pablo a very long message. Not an accusation, nor a sentimental farewell. Just a calm analysis of her gains and losses throughout these years with him, and the future arrangements for child support. She was never truly a naive little sweetheart. She knew exactly what she wanted. Pablo didn't stop her. He gave her everything he had promised, except marriage. This entanglement that lasted for years finally ended in a way that resembled a business breakup, quiet and dim. After returning from South America, I went for a full medical examination. The doctor looked at the report. "Ms. Liao, your physical condition is excellent. Better than many younger people." My phone vibrated. It was a message from the art history college boy I'd recently met. He invited me to see an avant-garde futurism exhibition that evening. The attached photo showed him smiling brightly, standing before an abstract, powerful painting. Over the years, I had somehow become the kind of woman my past self wouldn't have understood. People around me came and went, I enjoyed companionship, but never easily handed out my heart again. Some people talked behind my back, saying I was no different from Pablo back then. I laughed whenever I heard that. How could we possibly be the same? He ran from responsibility, using novelty to numb his inner emptiness. I, on the other hand, was living with full clarity after cleaning out all the debris of the past. I didn't manipulate anyone, and I didn't owe anyone. Fair trade. No burden. Only then did I realize the energy and admiration of a college boy could truly be pleasing. Looking at my phone, I replied with one word: "See you tonight." #Benjamin, extra chapter. The first time I saw Camila, she was standing beside Pablo, her fingertips lightly resting on the crook of his arm. Everyone in the circle said Pablo adored his wife, a model husband. I scoffed. From the look in that man's eyes, I knew he was no good. There's no such thing as devoted husband. So when I saw Gardenia's name, I almost burst out laughing. To hell with devoted husband. With the satisfaction of confirming a prediction, I sent that live photo to her work WeChat. In the meeting room, her face instantly turned pale. Her wrist, slender, trembling faintly in my palm. On impulse, I proposed that bet about the East City land. I wanted to tear open that fake piece. I wanted to see what would happen to a rose so carefully kept in a greenhouse once the glass shattered. But, where did things start going off course? She grabbed my tie, breath unsteady, and asked if I was clean. Me, of course I was clean. And then she messed me up. Damn, I got addicted. That morning, all I could picture was Pablo's twisted expression. And I felt a shameful, wicked pleasure. The phone rang. Seeing Pablo's name, that pleasure expanded. I leaned closer to the receiver, letting my voice drip with satisfied hoarseness. "Do all scumbags wake up this early?" The silence on the other end, beautiful like music. "Devoted husband, please." He was finished. When I gave up East City, even I froze. How old was I? Why was I acting like some rookie eager to impress? But I still did it. Lowered my offer by 0.01%, giving her both dignity and profit. I thought, this was the tacit beginning of something. But when she handed me the equity transfer contract, her eyes were clear, exposing all my little calculations. She asked if I'd give up my secretary. Fuck. She used money to settle everything, cleanly severing the tie between us. Later, younger, fresher boys appeared at her side like seasonal fashion. And that's when I understood. From beginning to end, I was the only one who lost.